Hi guys, the Tories won the vote to continue the erosion of worker rights on Monday night with their anti-strike bill. It will now move to the committee stage where it will be scrutinised. And while this will likely become law, at least the public and MPs will get a chance to understand its detail a bit better. It didn't mean that those who were against it were standing idly by. Both inside and outside of Parliament, there were voices against this breach of human rights and worker protections. Here Labour MP Clive Lewis delivered a powerful speech in favour of workers. Have a listen.
Mr Deputy Speaker, this legislation puts beyond a shadow of doubt whose side this government is on. It's certainly not the public. No, it's not the public. Because these public sector workers being denied their democratic rights are the public.
Exactly.
They're the ones defending public services,
Exactly.
not this government.
Exactly.
They're the ones fighting to stop trains without ticket offices. They're the ones fighting to stop railways with reduced numbers of safety precautions. The ones fighting to stop a healthcare system run from Silicon Valley by surveillance companies like Palantir. They're the ones fighting for our education system where 44% of teachers plan to leave within 5 years. No, this government is on the side of employers like P&O, British Gas, British Airways, with a bill that gives a green light to the practitioners of fire and rehire, of poverty pay and a race to the bottom. And yes, as ever, it's on the side of the rich and wealthy like it's always been. But this legislation is also part of a longer-term anti-democratic trend. This bill is part of a long raft of anti-democratic legislation passed by this government. It's a trend of transferring power away from workers and citizens and eliminating the limited rights and freedoms in the workplace and across society. The Police and Crime Sentencing Act of 2022 criminalised political protest. The Elections Act of 2022 will disenfranchise millions through voter ID. You undermine the independence. They've undermined the independence of the Electoral Commission. The Judicial Review and Courts Act limits the power of courts to remedy unlawful government action on the part of the executive. The National Borders Act. 6 million people in this country can now be stripped of their citizenship at the whim of the Home Secretary. And while they have temporarily gone quiet, we know they want to repeal the Human Rights Act as well. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, the British public have had enough of being told by this government to suck up failing privatised public services, corrupt politicians, collapsing living standards, a dying environment and a failing democracy. Being told there is no alternative, that politicians will always be caught on the take, that the rich and powerful will always be able to buy influence, that food banks are inevitable, that the NHS will always be in crisis, that our rivers will always be polluted, that a race to the bottom on employment rights is inevitable. History will show this bill as the act of a government on the ropes, bereft of direction, lashing out at the very public it claims to protect. It's a grim 50-year-old ideological experiment, and it's in tatters all around it. I'll be voting against this piece of rubbish.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love Clive Lewis. And can he take over from Keir Starmer for a bit? Wouldn't it be great for him to be leader of the opposition for a while at least? Now, of course, the things that he brought up here at the beginning about why workers are on strike, pay and conditions, but also the safety. When it comes to the rail unions, they're fighting companies that want to have a race to the bottom. They want to remove protections for both workers and for the public. They want to increase profit at all costs. Then you have the NHS, which is on its knees at the moment, driven to that state after 12, almost 13 years of Tory rule and austerity and Brexit. All of these things ingrained within the Conservative Party and this government. And then when it comes to protections for the public, protections for the environment, all of these are being stripped away. We saw rivers and lakes being pumped with raw sewage, and what did the government do in response? Nothing. You have the carers being cheered on during the pandemic, and then when they ask for some support, when you have NHS workers asking for help, asking for better pay, they get slapped in the face. And then this bill to make it illegal to protest, to go on strike, to put workers in a position where if they don't do their job, if they do actually take industrial action, they'll be fined and lose their position. Completely unacceptable. But it's something that needs to go, and I really hope what's going to happen is there's going to be a groundswell of support for opposition to this, both inside and outside of Parliament. That's the way it has to work. Voices both in and outside of the House of Commons. The Tories have the majority. They can push this through. But the hope has to be that as soon as the Labour Party get into power, they repeal all of these rules and these laws. They're the Labour Party, the party of the workers. That's what they have to do. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.